So I'm a bit dumbfounded about what it is they want to achieve. What do they want to create other than just be anti
Well,
everything
no,
that's
that's
not?
that's a good question. That's a good question. And in general, we're social animals, right? We are tribal animals. We need a group. We need friends. We need companions. We need our gang. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, or you can say there's something wrong with it, but it doesn't matter because it's still the way that we are. And there's two ways fundamentally that you can get a group of people around you who are going to be somewhat reliable, somewhat loyal, or whatever. Now, the first way that you can get people around you is you can be a great person. You can be a virtuous person. You can be a strong person. You can be a courageous person. You can be a good person. And you find other good people around you, and they respect and recognize your virtue. You respect and recognize their virtue. And you create these bonds of steel based upon being good, decent, helpful people. This is sometimes known as the Christian approach, though sadly not always. Now, the other way that you can have people around you, I guess there's three. The other way is some sort of neutral, non-moral bonding. Like you think of sports teams and stupid stuff like that, right? Not that sports are stupid or following sports is stupid, but you get it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
when I was a kid. I guess it starts pretty early, this philosophy stuff. But I was a kid, probably maybe 8 or 9, and there was a kid in my neighborhood who was championing his football team. This is English soccer, right? So he's championing his football team, and my football team, apparently composed mostly of Jamaicans, my football team was called Crystal Palace. And there, I think 4 divisions, and they were stuck in the bottom of the second or the top of the third. They basically had been useless as tits on a bull for decades, right? I mean, not as bad as the Maple Leafs. Oh, we'll come back to that another time. Anyway, so he was, chanting around you like, my team's great. Your team sucks. My team, I can't even remember what it was, is great. Crystal Palace sucks, right? I do remember saying to him, I said, dude, if you lived one street over, you'd be cheering Crystal Palace and opposing your team. You happen to be born on this street rather than one street over. Hell, I don't know. Maybe if you lived on one side of the street, you're cheering your team. If you live on the other side of the street, you're cheering our team. It makes no sense. Like, I remember saying that as a kid. And of course, you just get that 1,000-yard stare. Because when you can invent an enemy, now that enemy can be amoral in terms of sports teams or whatever, or it can be moral in terms of you're the nice socialists who want to help people and are welcoming to people fleeing persecution. And the other team are composed of these evil, white, Nazi, racists, blah, 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 blah. And you're good and they're evil. And that's pretty tragic. So, yeah, there's pursuing virtue gets you your tribe. Inventing an amoral enemy gets you your tribe. Or inventing an immoral enemy gets you your tribe. And to me, it's a pretty pitiful way. We've invented some enemies. We're going to gang together and hate them en masse. There's no virtue bringing to that. In fact, there's immorality. There's slander. There's lies, right? There is horrible things to be said about usually decent people. So I think they just want a tribe. They are not of anywhere close to high enough quality to win affection and loyalty and virtue from others. And so what they do is they invent an enemy, and then they all have a common purpose, which is to hate that enemy. And they all will support each other, and they're all holding hands, and they're engaged in this Old Testament biblical drama of fighting these terrible people who are just awful, and aren't we together in this? And it's all just a show. It's kabuki theater. It's all nonsense. But it gives them a sense of community which they don't actually have to earn by, say, learning anything, or understanding anything, or researching anything, or thinking in any way, shape, or form. It's a sad, drab little gathering of people who can't win affection in any way, shape, or form, and so win a pathetic kind of solidarity by inventing a devil to hate.